It's a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a McLaren, and then there's a Volvo in there. Like, wait a minute. Something ain't right. Wait, hold on. So you trying to convince me the Volvo should be with it is what it is. So it's one of those things. That's probably my only dislike, but I've learned to get around it. You just make peace with it and you just keep focusing on yourself. Because once you start looking to the left and the right, you start to lose direction of where it was that you was trying to go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
man. Welcome back, everyone. The episode of season 4, episode 3 of Up Top Podcast, and this is the March Madness edition. It's your boy Stimo,
and it's your boy Tsunami Tommy.
And thank you guys, especially here at Up Top Podcast. We want to thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen and to watch us here. Of course, we want to make sure to give you the latest updates, news, sports, entertainment, you name it. And we always want to make sure we bring it to the top. Up top, we say. All right. Yes. So without further introduction, man, we have a special guest today on Up Top Podcast. I can already say this guy has been making laughing like normal for him. It's just impressive to see the work that he's already put in to be where he is today. And here at Up Top Podcast, we are very happy to have him on our show episode today. Brother is actually making waves also on all social media platforms, you name it. And today he's actually going to go ahead and share with us exactly what's been going on with him. And then, of course, we would love to go ahead and more feedback into what he thinks about what's going on in the sports industry. So, of course, I want to go ahead and let everyone know a little bit more about Chiseled Adonis, everyone. Everybody, round of applause.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, for those who are unfamiliar, let me catch you up to speed. I am indeed the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. But of course, you already knew that. And we here on the Up Top Podcast, and I'm happy to be here.
Yes, sir. We definitely appreciate you. Yes, and as you can see, everyone, this man is really a stand-up comedic entertainer at his finest. I mean, he actually has done so many video skits, as you guys can see here. His best one was at least over 10 million views. That was 2 years ago, and I'm just saying to myself, like, wow, like, this man knows exactly how to keep the audience entertained. And we were just so delighted to make sure to show exactly the work that he's been putting in each and every time. And as you can see, we actually here at Up Top Podcast want to make sure we recognize his efforts. And I mean, as far as the videos are concerned, he's always giving you guys great entertainment. Like, he's always giving some type of reaction to every video that comes out. And you can see this reaction to the video, he actually went in and just destroyed it, man. Like, he actually took the time to go ahead and good feedback on what was going on. And as you could tell, like, Chiseled Adonis, every single reaction of videos that he's put out, people actually are recognizing his greatness and showing exactly what he's done. He's also even reacted to the feedback of the recent trades of the NFL. I mean, when I say entertainment at its finest, y'all. And I'm just saying to myself, like, wow, without him, I'm sure no one would understand what it would take to actually get on a show and put on a great scene. As you can see, he actually goes out of anywhere that was a location and just puts in great reaction videos. And I'm very happy to have him on the show, y'all. All right. So here at Up Top Podcast, we just want to get to know a little bit more about, what has Chiseled Adonis been able to do to make himself one of the best stand-up comedian entertainers right now in the entertainment industry. Go ahead, man. Like, tell me exactly a little more about yourself.
Man, it's humble beginnings, man. First and foremost, hell of an intro right there. I couldn't have wrote something better than you put together right there to really big me up. Give me a lot of credit. I appreciate that. There was a point in time with which my ego could not absorb that, but now I definitely take that on the chin. But humble beginnings to get to this particular point, man. I was just a guy who loved football, all kinds of sports, but primarily football was my sport. Played in high school, played in college, and then I just knew there was a point at which I'm like, man, I'm not going to make it to the next level. Like, because I didn't want to be one of those guys who's about to be 25, 30, still doing semi-pro, transferring and going to a whole bunch of different schools, taking out a bunch of loans. Like, I'm not going to do that. So I said, you know what? Let me just find out where to go shift my passion, too, and take that same sort of desire, consistency, stick-to-itiveness that I had in football and bring it, elsewhere. And till this day, I'll always credit him. My business law professor, Professor Rhodes, had told me, like, hey, man, he pulled me to the side. I had a B+ in the class. And he said, yo, what are you doing here? I'm like, what do you mean by this? And he told me, like, yo, you should consider going into entertainment. I'm like, what are you talking about? And seldom do you have a situation like that where you have a college professor tell somebody they should not be in school. I've never experienced something like that in my life. So one would assume, if the college board were to hear something like that, that person's job may be called into question. But he was a magnificent professor. But he told me, like, yo, you do a bunch of subtle things in class that is incredibly hilarious. You should really go back to your room and think about if this is something that you should do. So I went back to my room. I was sitting in the dorm, dark room. I made it very dramatic. So I had it real dark, edge of the bed, just sitting there thinking to myself, like, all right, let me see if this is something that is consistent in my life. And throughout grade school to junior high to high school into college, I've always been somebody who's been funny. So I said, you know what? Let me go and get into this, comedy scene. And I started with stand-up. And then randomly, I was driving to the gym in 2016. I believe it was February or March. I believe it was March. And started raining outside. Evidently, people forgot how to drive. I put my phone up, recorded a rant, posted it on Facebook, got 1,000 views overnight. And I said, wait a minute. I think there's a market online for this kind of content. And 8 years later, here we are, over 400 million views across social media, total over 1 million followers and subscribers combined. And it's been one hell of a ride. I mean, this has absolutely changed my life. And I'm blessed to have been born in a generation to where I've had this option and outlet to put forth my talent and my gift.
That is amazing. I mean, you actually have shown exactly what it takes from the ground level up, the work that you actually started off as. I mean, it's just a testimony of exactly the work that you actually put in to see the results. And here at Up Top Podcast, we always want to make sure to strive for more. And I'm just so happy and actually to hear the testimonies that you're hearing from others to say, man, like, this is actually your calling. Sports may not have been the thing because, again, we all wanted to be athletes growing up. But however, it turned out to be something so much more, and entertainment at its finest. And I'm telling myself, like, man, watching your videos and the reactions that you actually put out, man, it's just amazing. Like, you actually take the time to actually dissect every video. And to this day, man, I'm just very happy to be able to have you especially now see the fruits of your labor. So definitely well done on that, Chisel.
Much love. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
I have a question because I just wanted to know what was your mindset during those times where you couldn't really, get where you were going, or you couldn't really upload a video at the time. What was your mindset to keep you going to say, okay, I know what I have to keep my content and resources going, but I need more.
Right. First and foremost, great question, because anybody who knows about my story, and for those who don't, I'm an individual who have dealt with a ton of trial and tribulation online, because I have a total at this point of maybe 97 blocks and suspensions total on YouTube alone. If you were to put together all of the collective, suspensions or strikes or sort of time period that I wouldn't be able to upload, right now it's at a total of 12 months exactly. So it's 8 years of posting content, but I'm really at 7 because I had about an entire year of which I was blocked and unable to post. And what had put me, in the mind state of knowing to keep going was similar to when I was playing in football, of understanding you've got to get better and you can't stop or quit when the going gets tough. Because if you look at anybody who's successful, they've all failed at different points. Nobody just wakes up and they're just success 100% all the time. You're going to face adversity, some warranted, some unwarranted, but one way or another, you've got to commit to the commitment of consistency. I say it's the 3 C's that I live my life by. And I make sure to do that with everything that I do. So anytime I felt as if I wasn't motivated, I didn't feel as if I saw the fruits of my labor, I would just tell myself, hey, this is the long game, and we're in the short period right now. This is a 20-year period of time before I actually really scratch the surface. So all of this is still the beginning stages. So that's what I constantly remind myself. And I stay dedicated and disciplined above all else. Because a lot of times people feel as if, man, if I'm not motivated to go and make a video, or I'm not motivated to hit the gym, or I'm not motivated to put time into this business, motivation can only take you so far. The discipline and the dedication that you have to the craft is what will make you fly. So never worry about the destination. Enjoy the journey and fall in love with the journey. And then that's what keeps me moving forward.
Up top with Say, man. Yes,
sir.
sir. Well, good done question, Tsunami. And definitely, those are good words to live by. Like you said, Chiseled. I mean, this is a moment for us to actually appreciate the journey and where we're going and where we want to strive for more. Because, again, like you just said, the amount of blocks that you already have, there's always going to be blocks in the road of your journey. So we always have to continue to stay motivated. And that's here at Up Top Podcast. That's what we're about. Continue to uplift each and every one that actually takes the time to actually know that, hey, you don't have to play a sport to know exactly your journey or where you want to go in direction. It's going to help you to get to the top. So appreciate you actually sharing that. So can you actually give us some dislikes as far as, being a content creator, especially in the entertainment industry? What do you dislike about it? Have you seen any other reaction videos or anyone else that has really not made it fair for you to be able to continue to see the success of your reactions as well?
Great question. I would say one of the biggest dislikes that I have now probably is that there's a lot of mediocrity that's been able to grow and scale at an accelerated pace. Like when TikTok had came out about, I think it was maybe 2019, 2020, around the time, because I know during the pandemic is when it really blew up. But no disrespect to none of the other creators that was out there, but there was a lot of times in which people would do the very bare minimum, and they were still able to blow up to scenes and heights that people who've been putting work in for years were never able to attain. And the only issue that I had with it was the fact that these individuals would get like the torch, and it be clear that they don't know what to do with it, but they were given an opportunity to keep holding on to it. So it almost became a situation in which they were almost gatekeeping per se. And people who had been putting in work for years were at a spot where they could not elevate. So I guess the biggest dislike that I have and had with social media is the fact that there's a lot of times in which you could be a diamond in the rough, and sometimes you just go undiscovered. And you almost got to be at peace with that. Like, we're told from a very young age, like, yo, you just keep grinding and one day you'll make it, which I truly believe that you will. However, there are some moments in which you could be going 10 years at something where you're growing exponentially, fast, or maybe you're moving at a moderate pace, but then out of nowhere, somebody comes up next to you like, okay, where'd this person come from? They're not really doing better than me. They're in the same space as me, but somehow they're getting the notoriety. They're getting the sponsorships. They're getting the viewership. They're getting the subscribers. And you can't seem to wrap your mind around it. You make peace with it and say, hey, there's an audience for everybody. But soon enough, anybody who's watching, like, yo, this person should be way further than where that person is. But this person is like, it's almost as if you're like handpicked to be somewhere. Then that's probably the only dislike that I have, is that there's moments in which you would assume it's like a meritocracy. Like in sports, the best player more often than not gets all the accolades. You can only pick and choose somebody for so long. Because even when we think about the best players in the league, anybody who's watching those players, you can admit, yo, they the best of the best. They may not be the best in your opinion, but they deserve to be in the conversation. In the social media space, it's just sometimes you'll have some of the best individuals, and then out of nowhere, you got this other person in the same room with them. Like, yo, you shouldn't be there. It's a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a McLaren, and then there's a Volvo in there. Like, wait a minute. Something ain't right. Wait, hold on. So you trying to convince me the Volvo should be with... It is what it is. So it's one of those things. That's probably my only dislike, but I've learned to get around it. You just make peace with it, and you just keep focusing on yourself. Because once you start looking to the left and the right, you start to lose direction of where it was that you was trying to go.
Yes,
Right.
definitely. That's facts,
Awesome.
man. Definitely.
Mhm.
That's March Madness at your finest.
100%.
All right. So Mr. Sean Spacely actually has been joining here. Up Top Podcast, episode 4 here, season
Well
four,
done.
actually episode 3. All right. So you got any questions for Mr. Adonis?
Well, first things first, I'm fanned out just a little bit, not to make it too crazy. So I appreciate your content. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a big fan myself.
Oh,
I ain't gonna lie, you have me cracked up when there's days where I'm looking for a laugh. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love when I scroll onto your page. Always makes it fun. Shout out to the swords you have in the back. I have to put that out there too.
oh yeah.
I love them in the back. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My only question for you is when you come up to a block, just like a writer, just like a videographer, when you no longer have your muse, your drive, your purpose to create, where do you go or what do you do to bring yourself back to be like, okay, cool, I'm back. Let's drop something, whether it's a podcast, it's a video, it's a skit. What gets you back going when you feel like, well, I've done enough, I did it all, I've said everything, I've caught up with the trends, I've did all of this. What pushes you to keep on putting out what you do?
Oh, I think first and foremost, great question. But I think about what drives me and why it is that I do what I do. Because if I was in this business, I was in the YouTube business and I was making content just for me, I would have probably stopped years ago. But then I think about with my immediate family, I have my brother, my parents, and then my other brother, who's not necessarily by blood, but you know, when you since diapers, you know, so at that point,
Like,
you know, we're family, you know.
uh,
So, and
mm-hmm.
I consider them my core four that I have between the four of them. And I think about my mom's going to be 70 this year. My dad's going to be 67. My brother, he's going to be 34 this year. And then my other brother, he just turned 30. But there's different sort of health, you know, situations with all of them. So I'm thinking, man, if I were to stop now, there's a high probability that they won't get an opportunity to see me at my peak, and I won't be
Mm-hmm.
able to achieve enough to provide them with experiences that, in my opinion, not only do they deserve, but I'd love to share with them. So I've always said to my parents, I want your latter years to be your better years. And then for my brother, I told him, like, hey, you know, we're gonna drop the weight, we're gonna go out, we're gonna enjoy, you know, life. We're going to go on vacation and all these different things. Because when we were children, we all envisioned when we're older the kind of life that we would live, and life be life. So when that happened, things get in the way. Like, oh man, I want to go on a vacation over here. I want to go and road trip over there. But you can't do that if you got to worry heavily about bills suffocating your finances or stuff like that. So I'm looking at it like, man, on those days when I'm like, I'm struggling to come up with concepts for content, or maybe I'm feeling burnt out, or maybe I'm just tired and I don't want to do anything. I think about what was the purpose why I got into this? What kind of life do I want to provide for not only myself, but my family and my friends? And what is the benefits that I can now get from putting my best foot forward? And the moment that that's there, I immediately click right back into it and I get right after it. So it's all about staying grounded and having a reason why it is that you do what you do.
Much respect. I like it. That's what's
All
up.
right. All right, man. Great answers, man. You've been really giving us some good motivation, even though you're an entertainer, but you always take it serious as well, because people have to understand, like, entertainment is not easy out there. And especially for those who actually never heard about you, they're actually going on your YouTube or social media and they're like, hey, who's Chisel Adonis? Let's actually get to know what he's all about. And then for you to actually go ahead and still take the time to find different ideas and creativity to make sure that your audience is still being entertained, that says a lot about your work ethic. So salute to you on that, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Much love.
All right. So, of course, we just want to make sure to end this segment off with future aspirations and any goals you have for this 2024 year. Any other big exciting news? You know, here at Up Top, we want to make sure we actually hear from about what Chisel Adonis has in store for this upcoming year?
Man, this year, a million subscribers. Got to get there. It's been long enough. And then I need to get that gold play button. I have to. So the biggest goal for this year is that million subscribers. Got to get there. The past couple of years, I've been like flirting with having moments in which I was growing at a great pace and then they fall off there and then have momentum and then I get blocked here. So this year, the goal is 1 million subscribers. I'm gonna do everything in my power to get there. So that's my goal for 2024.
And we're gonna help you get there. Up top, we say. So we're gonna remember that. We're gonna remember, of course, to let everyone know here. Hey, for those who actually never heard again about Chisel Adonis, go ahead and subscribe right to that YouTube channel. And you're going to be able to see why he's actually getting to the top to that 1 million. And we'll be happy to be able to be a part of that one day. Of course, we're going to go ahead and just continue with our season, but we're going to stop here and let you guys know there's more to come into episode 3 of March Madness. And up top podcast here, we're going to go ahead and get into the next segment, which is going to be the NFL. And man, obviously there's been a lot going on, especially in the offseason of the NFL. So definitely I want you guys to stay tuned for more content and more updates. We're going to continue to bring it to the top. I mean, that's what we're here for. We got the best of the best right now. The main guy, the main entertainer at his finest, Mr. Chisel Adonis, y'all. So
yes, sir.
Here, Up Top Podcast, episode 4, season 3. It's your boy Stemo.
It's your boy Sean Spacely.
And it's your boy Tsunami Tommy.
And the Chisel Adonis.
All right. Up top, full lot, right. Here we are. Thank you guys again for taking the time to listen to that last segment. We actually introduced our guest speaker today, Miss The Chisel Adonis.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
we definitely want to thank you guys for taking again the time to listen to this segment here. We're going to go right into the NFL. This is episode 3, season 4, March Madness. And man, what madness has been going on in the NFL, y'all.
What a month.
Man, it's just been like, can I actually get a contract this time? Like, can I actually get signed to a team?
Right.
Like,
all 4 of us.
just-
Susan, who you go? Where you playing? Just you going to the Giants or the Jets? What's up?
Nah, send me to Pittsburgh. I'm trying to get to the Steelers. Send me to Pittsburgh. Give me to Pennsylvania. I ain't got to say it. I ain't got to think about it twice.
Oh, God.
Man, all I gotta say is, man, this has been a wild ride in free agency, and a lot has happened, especially for a lot of these free agents, especially in the positions that they play in. And here at Up Top Podcast, we're just gonna go ahead and get right into it. Man, the NFL actually gave some of these players, or these teams actually gave some of these players the bag, and I'm saying the bag as in like more than what I thought they should have deserved. And we're going to go right into it. And we're going to start off with Mr. Kirk Cousins, who actually used to play for the Minnesota Vikings, as you can see, as the quarterback last year, who got hurt, but then ended up playing now for the Atlanta Falcons, who gave him a 4-year, $180 million deal.
He's got the greatest agent in sports history because I don't know how he's made almost $400 million playing football, and he's only won one playoff game. It's incredible.
That is
March Madness. That is madness.
You can't make this stuff up.
At its finest.
Oh my gosh!
What in the world? Like, and then Josh Allen. Josh Allen, bro.
He plays for the Jaguars. He got franchise tagged actually, Spacely, and not the actual Josh Allen for the Bills, but the other Josh Allen for the Jaguars.
Guess what?
Yeah. Chris Jones, as you can see, he obviously just won a Super Bowl, so they gave him the bag.
They re-signed him.
$160 million. But all these other guys that you see below us, Brian Burns, who got traded from the Carolina Panthers, one of the worst teams in NFL, to going to the New York Giants. And they said, hey, we're going to give you the bag now. Man, I mean, Christian Wilkins, who also played for the Miami Dolphins, who led them to the playoffs. He said, all right, y'all didn't want to pay me. I'm going to Las Vegas.
What? Do you think we was going to pay him that? He was great. As a Dolphins fan, he was great. Don't get me wrong, he was great. But he was not worth $110 million. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah. And as you can see, Other players that actually stayed and remained with their teams: Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, Michael Pittman. Those guys obviously have been really good force. Baker Mayfield obviously has proven to actually get that bag because he actually led the Bucks to the playoffs and he did phenomenal this past season. So got to give kudos to Baker Mayfield because he was on different teams. He was obviously trying to figure out his fit, and now he's actually having Tampa as his home team, as his successor from Tom Brady. So got to give him that. But Saquon Barkley, y'all, fly Eagles fly. That's all I gotta say.
True.
Talk about a
He
crazy move.
actually he
Right.
actually decided to say, "You guys didn't want to pay me. I'm going to the rival." And he's playing for the Eagles now for 3 years. Calvin Ridley, another one that I thought, hey, maybe Jaguars were gonna sign him. He ended up saying, "Hey, I got a bigger bag going to Tennessee." And man, a lot of these
Robert
free
Hunt.
agents, as you can see,
Robert
Josh
Robert Hunt.
Jacobs,
Robert
Robert
Hunt.
Hunt,
Robert
yes,
Hunt. He was not worth $100 million. You see, that's the point I'm making. These guys are grabbing contracts. Like, do I need to run like Tyreek Hill? Like,
They,
do,
yeah,
they
do I
got
need
to
to
go
go talk to
secure
Xavier?
secure the bag at that point because they just throwing money at a bunch
Yo,
of people. I can't believe
legit.
that Tennessee paid Calvin Ridley that 72 million, but they refused to pay
hmm
AJ Brown. So it's like, wait a minute, what do we do? It's interesting. I ain't gonna take it nothing away from the players, but sometimes I look at the organizations a little sideways. Like I don't know what you guys do with your money, but hey, that's your business.
True
And
enough.
it's just been madness. It's been madness. As you can tell, a lot of these guys, they say, hey, we want a chance to compete now. And Marquise Brown going to the Chiefs, he's going to be a great weapon for Patrick Mahomes as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these
True.
guys that you see on this list, they actually want to go ahead and get actually opportunity to not only get the bag, but to get a chip. And it's just interesting, man. There's still guys that are still waiting to get signed. As you can see, the TBDs, that means to be determined.
So
I don't know, man. Like
hold on, stuff.
Derrick
Hold on.
Henry. Go ahead.
Think about that though. Think about that. Imagine your name on this list and you're a TBD and you're watching people who you feel you're better than getting the bag. Imagine that. You're still on the I'm still thinking about you stage. And you're looking at guys that you either played against or played with that you know them and you're looking at them like, so why can't I get that? What's taking so long for me to get this?
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, Derrick Henry going to the Ravens after he's been a long tenure veteran with Tennessee, getting to play with Lamar Jackson, man, that's going to be a 1-2 punch. Tony Pollard going to Tennessee now to replace him. I mean,
So
Devin
look at
White,
Odell. Odell
yeah,
doesn't have
Right.
a contract right now. Odell's money's in the air. I never thought I'd see the day where I'd sit down and see the man Odell and no money next to his name.
I mean, it's madness. As you guys can see, there's still guys that are still in. DeAndre Swift going to the Bears. Again, a lot of these players, a lot of them still have a lot to prove to the tank. I mean, Bobby Wagner, long
Right.
Seattle
Right.
linebacker, going to the Commanders now. Like, seriously, Austin Eckler, the same thing. He was a Chargers running back, starting running back. Now he's going to the Commanders. Like, crazy. It's been crazy. Like, all these guys that you see on this list are really going to have to prove it. And I mean, we just won't know what's going to happen, how they're going to fit with their new teams and how they're going to fit with players. It's going to be interesting, very interesting. So I just wanted to get y'all opinion on this NFL free agency. Like, give me your feedback and take on what you guys actually have seen so far.
Well, first and foremost, I think there's a lot of great moves that have happened, but there's some, like Sean said, there's a sum of available guys that you're kind of scratching your head like nobody's picked you up. Like even if you don't expect them to come in and be a star, they got guys who are available, whether it be like a Stephon Gilmore, an Odell Beckham, a Jadeveon Clowney. Like these guys can walk into a locker room and they could provide some veteran leadership. You don't need them to come in and be the guy. You could bring like Tyler Boyd is available right now. He's a great number 3 receiver and can compete to be a number 2, but somehow people haven't thrown any money at them. Like I'm assuming a lot of teams are waiting until the NFL draft, but sometimes it makes me scratch my head because if nobody's calling those other players, they'd most likely be willing to take a pay cut just to get onto a roster because they're probably looking at the clock just like we as fans are. Because if you can grab somebody in the draft who's young, you'll probably pay that young guy the bag versus the
Yup.
older veterans. So all I got to do is just call you on the phone and say, hey, I got 2 years, 8, 10, 15 million. Would you be interested in coming to the team? We need some veteran leadership, because now across all sports, people, most likely fans, have completely forgotten the role that veteran, leadership plays. So if you could have a savvy vet who comes into the locker room that can help lead the troops and then also get their targets or get their their snap count up, man, it's a win-win situation. So although there were some questionable, moves that make you wonder how some teams threw the bag at some players, I'm also looking at that free agent list like, man, there's some guys who's unclaimed right now that should be on a team.
I'm agreeing with you there, Chisel, for sure. I just saw Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney is still to be decided too. I'm like, are you serious? Clowney, of all people, to your point too, veteran leadership. You think Clowney can't come in and raise up the practice? You think he won't go in there and pop some heads, get some people going, light some fire into people? Like you said, a lot of people have forgotten the lost art of what a vet player means. Vet does not mean, oh yeah, I've been here 10, 12 years in the league. No, I've been here, seen it all, and I have experience. I can pass on to something like this new young talent that's coming on in full of energy, life, but at the same time, a little bit of pride. It's like, hey, hold on, come over here, let me talk to you. All that's good, that's great and all, da-da-da, but it only gonna get you so far. When it's time for it to count, it won't count. Here's what you need to do. A lot of these young players aren't getting that, so they're going out there making rookie mistakes. We're looking at them like, hey, you're supposed to leave those kind of mistakes back in college, high school. You're a professional now. So I agree. There's way too many players on that free agency right now that how come you haven't gotten the bag? You gave him how much?
And we haven't even talked about the trades. Those were just free agents. So obviously everyone has heard about the big names of, who got signed to where, but the trades itself, man, like we got to talk about Mr. Russell Wilson, y'all. He actually ended up getting traded from the Denver Broncos now to the Pittsburgh Steelers as now the starting quarterback. And then guess who's also going to be his backup? Justin Fields, who actually was the starter quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And now you're the backup for Russell Wilson? That's madness to me, y'all.
Agree. Like that's what I was trying to figure out, because last time I checked, I knew we saw his capabilities back in the previous season, and he was showing that he may have had a little bit of hiccups, but he could have worked through it. So he could have worked through it. He could have made it a little bit farther. But I was confused that when the trades came up, he went to the Steelers. That's why I was a little bit confused. I said, okay, cool, but it was like you said, it's madness. It's madness what it is. But what do you think, the Chisel? How do you, as a Steelers fan, is that a good play? Is that a bad play, or is it something that you guys can just work around and maybe it can add to your team chemistry?
I think it's a perfect move. And with trade was Fields got traded. Russell Wilson got released and then signed like 3 days after. But one way or another, I absolutely love it, because if you consider what our quarterback room looked like last year, we had Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett. And no disrespect to Pickett, but I've always had like the old school mentality for quarterbacks. There's only a very small percentage of quarterbacks who come into the league that's really league ready. So I think you should sit behind a vet, hold the clipboard, but learn. The only problem was in Pittsburgh, we didn't have that vet. Mitch Trubisky's not that guy. So I hated the fact that Kenny Pickett had to sit behind him. But now that you bring in Russell Wilson for $1.2 million, and Denver has to still pay him $38+ million, you getting this man for a veteran's minimum. Now, granted, he may not be who he was in Seattle, allegedly, but still, it's better than who we had. And even though he hadn't played at that same level, he still was relatively capable. But now he comes to a team where all the pieces are there. You have a very young dog in a running back with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. You got George Pickens, who could make any circus catch. Freiermuth's a very good tight end. They traded away Deontay Johnson, but I'm pretty sure nobody drafts wide receivers better than Pittsburgh. So now you bring in Russell Wilson, and he's got an opportunity to go and compete. And for him, he's also trying to reclaim the stardom that he had in the past, because he had a first ballot Hall of Fame trajectory. And then the last year in Seattle and the last 2 years in Denver, people looking at him like he a joke. So naturally, the ego is going to play a role. And he sat down with Brandon Marshall right before he got released and said, hey, I want to win 2 trophies in the next 5 years. What better team to come to where they got 6 trophies in the trophy case where you got to hold yourself to a standard? So I'm ecstatic about that. And lastly, with Justin Fields, this is a guy who Chicago said, yo, we're drafting Caleb Williams, so we don't need you no more. They gave him away for a 6th-round pick. For Justin Fields, if Russell Wilson doesn't perform well, you already on your new team. So
madness.
It's like Pittsburgh, the way they fit their quarterback room from trash to treasure is insane. And I'm ecstatic for this season and what it's going to look like. Because I think it's nothing but W's right now from Omar Khan and that front office and what they did in acquiring it. I'm ecstatic for the draft and the rest of free agency because I still think they got some more moves to be made.
Nice,
well said.
nice.
Well said.
Right.
From the Chisel Adonis, everyone. I mean, he's a
Nice.
Pittsburgh fan, and I know he's excited to see exactly what the Steelers are going to be made of. I mean, of course, I'm being an Eagles fan, so we're in the same boat.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we got some good offseason moves as well. We ended up getting back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who also used to play for us and came back from Detroit. So that was a great sign for us. But, yeah, Saquon Barkley, man, I'm just like, this guy's going to fit in well with Jalen Hurts. It's like another 1-2 punch. And he can, you know, get a better offensive line this time. So he'll be able to go ahead and run through the blocks. And, man, it's just going to be different. It's going to be different. But overall, I mean, there's still some players still left to be signed. And there's some players that are still waiting to see whether they're going to get traded in the NFL draft. So we'll see.
Right. 100%. And you guys also brought back Brandon Graham. He's coming back for year 15 for you guys. Now, we'll talk later about, unfortunately, a couple of retirements, but you guys bringing him back, that's big time. Savvy veteran in the locker room. You need that on that D-line.
Of course. Brandon Graham, man, who won the Super Bowl with the Eagles, and you know, he's a force in the interior, man. He actually is coming back for year 15 in the NFL. Not a lot of players could say that. So salute to him as well, and of course, we're happy to have him back as well, man. We look forward to, you know, having his final farewell, hopefully with a championship. All right, so right into the NFL draft. It's coming up, y'all. Like, I mean, there's a lot of names that we're going to have to prepare for. But as far as the combine is concerned, man, I know y'all did not actually see, or if y'all actually did see, this man actually broke the 40-yard dash record. Here at Up Top Podcast, we like to break records as well. Like this man literally was a no-name, I'm sure, before in college. And he actually put on a show for everyone to say, hey, let's actually look out for this man. He actually has speed. And I mean, man, you guys got to actually go ahead and see it for yourself, especially for those who never heard about him. But he used to play for the University of Texas, and he was a wide receiver. And his name was Xavier Worthy, who broke the 40-yard dash record, y'all.
Listen, John Ross had the record for, I think it had to be about 6 years, maybe I think it was 2017 that he had the record, maybe 6-7 years. And he had broke Chris Johnson's, and most people thought, man, I don't know if somebody gonna get him. And although the people who, if you take a look at the top 10 list of the fastest players, I believe Chris Johnson probably has the best resume.